Hi guys, in this 5-10 minute video we're just going to explore the topic of should we stretch more if we're feeling tighter. Now, to dig down into that title a little bit more of this topic, you may be doing all the good stuff. You may be doing your prehab sessions or your pre-activation session before every session you do, whether this be in the gym, on a running track, on the turbo trainer, or outdoors in whatever capacity. You might also be doing your 10-15 mobility sessions just to make sure that we're keeping on top of joint sites, muscle groups, and overall feeling of healthy movement and function. But all of a sudden, you then become washed over with a big sense of tightness that is unexpected. Now, this can be you waking up one morning and your lower back or your neck or calf, lower calf into Achilles are suddenly becoming noticeable here. Now, I'm not saying that it's because you slept awkwardly. It could be because this has been building up over time, therefore it's something chronic and it's something that needs to be addressed, and it should have been addressed 2 weeks ago. So in this video, we're just going to explore some of the answers as to what may be posing this outcome. So what is actually going on here is a taxation of your central nervous system, your CNS. Obviously, brain is very important for the body to function and for you to live. Your neurons in your brain send signals down your nerves, and these spread all over your body, broken up into 4 main areas of your spine: cervical spine or brachial plexus, your thoracic spine, upper back, your lumbar spine, your lower back, and of course your sacrum. Now, all of those nerve roots from your main spinal cord are going to be feeding all those muscle groups, thousands of muscle groups in your body, all the way from the top of your cranium, top of your head, so your face muscles, all the way down so you can wiggle your toes. Now, what might be creeping up on you is this taxation on the central nervous system that you have been unaware of. Now, some of the big labels that could be adding to this taxation are training load being too much, training stress, the intensity of your training is too high, your recovery is at an all-time low, so we need to delve into your methods of recovery, and is your recovery benefiting you? It could be that we're not getting enough sleep. It could be what you're ingesting, so food and drink, or the types of food and drink that you're ingesting. It could simply be internal, external pressures. It could be illness, and it could also be stress. Now, stress doesn't have to be bad. You can have good stress, or I call it happy stress, where you've got a lot going on through the ears, through the brain waves, but it is just a lot to contend with. And then, of course, you've got the other side of the scales here, the bad stress, where we do feel stressed, it suppresses our mood, it then affects sleep, it affects recovery, etc. So if we start with just one of those big labels of taxation on central nervous system, what this will tend to do is, in general, is tighten up your muscle groups and therefore start impeding on those nerves flowing through your muscles, which in turn are going to send signals back up to the brain that we are feeling tight, we are feeling vulnerable. There's a few red signs and a few warning signs being floated around, which at the end of the day, us as athletes and high functioning athletes, we're all going to be quite wary of these. They're going to be big warning signs. Should I be slowing down? Should I miss this morning session? Should I be trusting coach with this 6x800 set he wants me to do? I can't really get my hamstring to a 90 degree motion in a hamstring banded 99 flexibility stretch, for example. So all of these markers we're always continually aware of, but let's start delving into some of them. So firstly, let's look at the soft tissue element. So the tightness of our muscle groups, and to some degree tightness or reduced range in our joint sites, so such as the shoulder joint if you're getting into the pool. We've all had it those mornings, early mornings, we've all had it throughout any point of the day when we get into the pool or the open water, certainly when we get in the wetsuit on as well, because it adds into that heightened restriction of trying to battle against the neoprene. No matter what wetsuit we've got, we are going to feel slightly less range in that shoulder, where all of a sudden we're going to go into the reach phase of the stroke and it's just not happening. We're feeling really tight on the catch and the pull phase. It's just, our lats are burning, our upper back is really tight, my neck's starting to hurt. We've all been in that scenario. It could be where we're on the turbo trainer and we're wanting to do, let's say, 6 or 8 minute sweet spot efforts in that aero capacity here on the elbow pads, and all of a sudden neck starts to hurt because we're looking through our eyebrows at Zwift, for example, or our lower back starts to hurt, we keep fidgeting around, hamstrings don't feel as though they're part of us anymore, they feel like 2 wooden poles. Now what could be contributing to this is, again, that impingement of the nerve, or that irritation around a nerve due to these muscle groups being so tight. So if we start delving into what could cause this tightness, if we are being a saint with our mobility and our prehab, if we're not, I think that's firstly a good point to start with, is let's get consistent with our mobility. And if you do a 10-15 minute mobilizer or a prehab or a pre-activation session, it's not just going to happen like that. 5-10 minutes stretching lower backs, hamstrings, quads, you are hypothetically going to feel better because mentally you've ticked a box, you've done a stretch session, and therefore we should be feeling better because we've just done it. Big pat on the back for us having done it. But it's going to take more than 4 days all the way up to about a week for you to actually start to flood into a session and not even worry about tightness anymore. But we've got to be consistent. So if we've dropped off the consistency wagon with our mobility, then that is my first piece of advice for you. Your first port of call is get back on it and be on it for a good couple of days until you really start to feel the difference. So if we are being good with our mobility and all of a sudden we still get washed over with tightness, we need to start looking at other factors. So the first one for me is rest and recovery. So are we doing everything that we can to ensure that when we do go to sleep, we are getting good quality sleep? So a few things here would be avoiding caffeine after 2 p.m. on an afternoon. Obviously, if you're working a night shift it's a bit different. But if you are working throughout the day, I would advise not to ingest any form of caffeine if you have gone past 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's going to take roughly 60 minutes for that caffeine to have its heightened effect or on performance or just bringing you up from that caffeine, and then it's going to be in that system for 4 hours. So if you have it at 2, give it an hour, that's about 3 o'clock. You add 4 hours of having that stimulating effect from the caffeine. And again, these are averages. Some people will be less, some people will be drastically more. But then of course, if we're hitting 7 p.m. on an evening, and then we have our dinner, the last thing we want is caffeine to still be present. And then we're adding some energy in there in the form of dinner and food, because we should be winding down. We should be starting to wind down for the evening to set us up for some good quality rest. Another big one here is no screen time, blue screens. So mobile phones, big one, laptops, big one, TV, big one. Try not to look at any form of screen for 45 minutes as a bare minimum. 90 minutes is ideal, but 45 minutes as a bare minimum before you're wanting to switch off and go to sleep, because it'll just start exciting that brain, and that brain isn't going to be switching off. So you're going to find it hard to drift off, even if you're going to say, Steve, look, I'm watching Netflix till about 10 o'clock at night and I'm always asleep by 10:15, 10:30. Great, but it's more about the quality of that sleep that you're having. So such as how much deep sleep are you recording? How much REM, rapid eye movement, are you recording in that sleep? You might be going to sleep, but what's the quality like? So that is rest and recovery. So recovery now, obviously part of that is sleeping and shutting down. So we're on repair on a night. But what are your recovery methods? So yes, you might be doing your mobility, but if you're like me, you get to about 5, 6, 7 weeks, somewhere there. Certainly you've just ticked over a full month and then you've done another week, and we're just starting to feel things come out of the closet here. So for me, it's always my calves and Achilles and right lower back, my right QL. And that is about time that I go and see my guy for treatment. So soft tissue therapy, it's always good. That's what I do here with people as well. It's soft tissue therapy is always good at making sure we're breaking down adhesion between muscle fibers. We are causing elasticity of muscle fibers, therefore reducing pressure at joint sites, whether this be the origin or the insertions. Therefore, the joints are going to be moving in their full range. We can go through joint mobilizations as well during these appointments. So if we do have quite a stiff shoulder and it's unbalanced from the other side, it's just one shoulder you're dealing with. If you were to go and see someone who provides soft tissue treatment or joint mobilizations, so a sports therapist for example, they're going to be working on that joint to make sure that it is going through its normal range, and what we call a painful arc is making sure that the pain isn't there as you are moving that arm above your head and back down again. It could be salts, it could be Epsom salts in the bath. Obviously the salts absorbing through the skin, great thing to be doing probably about an hour before bed. So no screen time, Epsom salt bath, really wind down, slip into bed, and that's all going to set you up for some good quality sleep. It could be the food and the drink that we are consuming as well. So what type of foods are we eating? Are they going to be fast burnt, sort of low GI foods, or are they going to be slowly burnt, high GI foods, avoiding snacking throughout the day so we're not binging on crisps and chocolate bars and things like that, which are only going to be short-lived, quite high in fat, certainly processed, and all of that is leading to an unhealthy gut. If we've got a healthy gut, we're going to be feeling healthy and we're going to perform better. If we've got an unhealthy gut and there is a slight balance mismatch in sort of probiotics, then you're going to be looking at the harsh truth of the risk of illness creeping in there, as well as things like IBS setting off too. I've just mentioned it, illness. So one of the big ones here is a virus. So we could all be dealing with a virus, which is again another form of taxation on our central nervous system. We may have a virus and we might be functioning absolutely fine, other than just noticing, oh, my back's a bit stiff today, or my hamstrings are a bit stiff, whatever. But it could be masquerading in the background. People who we meet, loved ones, family, don't see a change in you. You don't necessarily see a change in you for a few days until temperature starts breaking out, and that's the virus breaking out of the body. But your body is under a severe taxation here to try and fight this virus off, which again is going to be burning the candle at the other end. So we are burning calories by doing this and available energy trying to fight this virus off. Therefore, this is that taxation on the central nervous system. Therefore, through those nerves, up the spinal cord, into the neurons, into the brain, we are going to feel quite tight because it's going to cause our soft tissue, our muscle groups, to tighten with this as well. And then what I've just landed on just before, training load. Training load, training stress. Is our training load too big for us right now? Have we been sustained in a training load past? I coach my athletes between sort of 4 and 6 week cycles. As soon as we get to week 6, that is our final week of that training cycle. I then go into a mandatory deload phase where we are looking to strip up to 65 to 60% off training load to ensure that we are getting the athletes to recover, and we do allow the body and brain to adapt to the training demands placed upon it. If that training load continues into week 9, week 10, week 11, week 16, I would imagine you're probably at the professional level and you're doing this for a job, therefore your tolerance and susceptibility to that amount of training load is where it should be to combat such a vast training cycle. If you're not a professional athlete, then I'd be really starting to question, we need to implement a deload, and that might just be the key there to avoid this tightness creeping in or levels of fatigue. It could be also training stress, so the intensity of our sessions. The training load is fine, you might be in a 3 or a 4 week or even a 6 week cycle, but you've just got too many top end sessions where they are too bunched together in the week and the body is simply not allowed enough time to recover between sessions. Therefore, that is a huge taxation on your central nervous system, and your muscle groups are going to let you know. You've got a stretch receptor in your muscle groups called your Golgi tendon, and this is like we said, a receptor. It's going to be telling through the nerves, through into the brain, through the neurons, this muscle is really tight, because red warning sign here, alert, we need to change what you are doing, your output, because it's not sustainable. So just have a little think, how many top end sessions are you doing bunched together in that week? Because that could be a severe taxation on the central nervous system, and therefore this could be one of the reasons why all of a sudden we're starting to feel really tight, stiff, and we're limping around. I hope this helps. Cheers.